Hi, I'm Jeff Murrah of True Texas History, and today I'm going to go ahead and return back to the question of why Texas independence matters and take a little bit deeper dive into some of the lessons to be learned from it. You know, many times we look at these historic events and documents and we really don't think through them and consider what is the message that this previous generation is sending to us. Because with each statue, with each monument, they're telling us something through the years. And what I did for this one, I went ahead and took the Texas Declaration of Independence, and essentially I broke it down into a couple of categories. One, what items were identified as threats to Texas. And then the next column, I went ahead and identified what were the needs for Texas and Texans as identified by those founding fathers. Now, in terms of the threats, one of them is the failure of government to guarantee lives, liberty, and property. A failed government is one that does not protect lives, liberty, and property. And the whole, I guess what you could say, American ideal is a concept that, when government fails, we can replace it. And one of its duties, as lined out here, is to protect lives, liberty, and property. Another threat was when they put the military ahead of civilian authority. Anytime that you put military authority ahead of civilian authority, you've got problems. They not only identified this at the time of the Texas Declaration of Independence, but several years later, one of the people that talked about this threat, sought and took action against it, was Governor Pendleton Murrah. Because at that time, the military authorities were threatening the civil authorities, and there was a power struggle going on. He saw the danger of that, and he saw to it that the civil authority in its position were once again strengthened. Number three, a threat to Texas is the arbitrary abuse of power. So, anytime government officials or government arbitrarily uses their power, that's not a good thing. Also, he points out the threat in terms of tyrannical government, and what they identify as tyrannical government is when partisan and partial legislation. Now, partisan legislation, I think people understand, but the partial has to do with when the needs of one particular region or area are put way ahead of the people in general. They saw this as a threat. Another threat that they identified is inciting Indians and pirates. Now, although we don't have Indians and pirates per se these days, there are people that incite groups that are just as destructive as Indians and pirates in terms of their methods and techniques of threatening to burn down portions of cities. And I know Dallas has had trouble with troublemakers going around harassing restaurant goers and stuff like that, which that's not good. And then another threat to Texas was an unstable government, one that you can't count on, that is wishy-washy in their policies and how they approach things. That's on the negative side. I don't want us to dwell on the negative. Now, the founding document also identified what the needs of Texas were. One is education, because they believed if the people are not educated, they're not going to make headway. Now, they didn't specify what kind of education, but they did see the need for education. They also saw the need for jury trials and the importance of jury trials in your local community. They also saw the need for constitutional liberty. In other words, liberty that is protected by constitutional law, as opposed to arbitrary, oh, gee, this judge decides willy-nilly that doesn't like something. I know when I was down on the Gulf Coast, I was amazed at the arbitrariness of so many judges, especially family court judges. Couples would fight over where they took the kids for the haircut. This is insane. And they would arbitrarily decide which parent gets the child based on not a set